cheat. I don't steal. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Um, Doing the thing you committed to is always more important than committing to it. Most of us have a very bad habit of agreeing to do something and then planning on figuring out a way to get out of it. That's not me. Earlier today, my friend Alexis um, mentioned that it was good seeing me at church. She was kind of surprised, and a lot of people should be surprised because I'm not the church going type. But I said I was going to go, and I did, and it wasn't the fact that I said I was going to go, it was the fact that I was there that impressed her. Her and her husband, my friend David, I actually met her through him. They brought their darling little son Keanu, who I got to see for the first time. And typical, I wanted to kidnap the baby and raise it on my own until the first dirty diaper. And then I'm like, you know what, you can have this kid back. I forgot about that part. Sucks. Um, but I've quit comedy. I met my friend David and his wife Alexis through comedy. Quit comedy. And I've started going back to church for one very simple reason. It's actually a very complicated reason, but for me, things have been oversimplified, and that is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That seals the deal for me. That has proven to me beyond a doubt that there is evil in this world. There's just a tremendous and great evil in this world. And the only way to combat that is with great good. I mean, I'm more than happy to participate in more evil and kill. I mean, I want to kill everybody who's made a joke at Charlie Kirk's expense. There are people, there are groups, there are organizations who are compiling those people's names, their addresses, and I'm helping. People who used to be my friend, they're now on the chopping block. And it makes sense that the activities that happen to them don't come from me, because it's going to be a lot easier for me to maintain innocence. So the irony is the assassination of Charlie Kirk, A, has prompted me to be more like Jesus, and B, prompted me to want to kill 20% of society. Even less than that, let's face it. Because the people who are perpetuating these lies, people saying Charlie Kirk said he agrees with stoning people to death if they're gay, all kinds of stuff that he never said. You guys accused him of being racist because he mentioned, as a result of DEI, airlines were reducing their requirements for minority pilots. So that means that if he walked onto a plane and he saw a black pilot, he would literally say, I hope that's not a DEI hire. I hope that's somebody who got here on their own merit and on their own skill and on their own wisdom and their own drive. Reducing requirements to fulfill some fantasy of a Benetton ad at work is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's a reason why women don't lay bricks. There's a reason why black guys don't get into professional careers. It's not systemic racism, it's not sexism, it's your own personal choices. I grew up in Section A, I grew up in the hood, I grew up around gangs. Here I am, attempting to be a productive member of society, doing much better than all of the people who grew up with me. Like, even the successful ones are still just not there. They're crazy, or they're liars, they're living some sort of fantasy. I ran into one of my first friends ever, and his mom used to babysit a bunch of us. And my mom and a lot of the other moms would always try to be more like his mom. And then he tells me, she was full of shit too. She just put up the best disguise. She was just good at doing it consistently all the time, pretending to be somebody she wasn't. And this was somebody that all the moms looked up to. So I was raised in this perpetual people are amazing even though they're not. Oh, also because they're women. That was also back when people were trying to say, like, oh, being a single mother is hard. It's not any harder than being a single father. No one ever talks about how hard being a single father is. Why is that? Why is it nobody ever talks about how hard it is to be a single father? Because men, A, we don't get to complain, and B, we're not going to complain. Because here's the simple truth. They're your kids. It's never going to be too hard. It's never going to be too expensive. They're your kids. It's not a pet, not a car, it's not a club. You have signed on to a lifetime of commitment. That's going to be difficult. But what you're supposed to do as an adult is agree to what you agree to. Do what you say you're going to do. If you sign a contract, you are contractually obligated. It's just that simple. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And a lot of these women who are like my mom and our friend who all the moms wanted to be like, they were so busy being fake that there was no actual depth to them. Like they were so busy, like, oh, I'm this great Christian and I'm this great mom and I'm this great educator and I'm just this perfect person who never cusses or never farts or yada, 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 yada. That was their whole life. It was just one big fucking lie. And my mom still lives that lie to this day. You know, she's on her way out. I'm 48. She's 68. And she's still just as miserable as the day she had me. Probably even more so. Because she's living a fantasy. Something that just doesn't even actually exist. And most of us are doing this. This isn't specific to women, just that type of fantasizing. With men, it's much more embarrassing. It's, I could have gone pro. Or once they recognize my hard work, I'll get the promotion I've been waiting for. It's like, no, you still got to be proactive. All of us have to be proactive. Faith without works is dead. What good is prayer if you're not acting to make those prayers come true? It's pointless. Faith without works is dead. You can believe in all the deities you want, but if you're not participating in a spiritual lifestyle, you're wasting your fucking time. I mean, I was at church earlier today volunteering. I've been volunteering off and on for years. I hadn't volunteered in about 2 years. Just because I was being lazy and selfish. But I'm in church volunteering. I volunteered a couple other places because I practice what I preach. And that, let's face it, that's why you guys don't like me. Because I'm honest. I'm not afraid. Most of you let your fears dictate your life. Most of you live by your fears. I'm not going to do that because I'm afraid. I'm not going to talk to that person because they're scary. I'm not going to resolve this issue because I'm going to have to be more responsible once we realize I'm supposed to be more responsible. But that's no way to live. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, the only way out is through. You know how you get out of this life? By taking it head on. Doing the things that are required of you, doing the things that you agreed to do, paying the bills that you racked up. Because we all do this, I do it. At the end of a meal, when you get the bill, you're like, wait a minute. How did it come out to that? Well, the prices were in front of you the whole time. You just refused to accept the reality that those prices are adding up. It's the same with our utility bills. Like when I get my electrical bill, I'm like, what the fuck? I had the lights and the heater on, and I got everything in my apartment's electric. It's awful. Everything in my apartment's California, Southern California, Oxnard, fucking awful. Fucking awful. Electric dryer, electric AC, doesn't work. Electric dishwasher, works fantastic until it breaks down. Electric oven, electric range, they just take way too fucking long. And it's a burden on my electricity. So that's the thing, is now California is even more dependent on electrical power, and the price is going up, and we still don't have enough electricity for everybody. There's not enough power being produced to fulfill the need that they're claiming that you need to fill. And what needs do you need to fill? It's a good question.
Now, you might have noticed there's a substantial decrease in the amount of effort applied to implying there's some sort of wage gap difference between men and women here in the United States, or globally, I guess, since we're the greatest country on the planet. Um, the reason why is because the wage gap has been proven to not exist. It's false. Like, the way people establish that there is a wage gap is they just add up all the hours that people are supposed to work, add up all the pay that people are supposed to get, and then they go, gee, there's a disparity here. But the disparity is men typically pick careers, women typically pick jobs. That is the big difference. Women are like, I want to be teachers, or I want to cut hair, I want to do nails. Men are like, I'm going to do manual labor. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I've got a wife and kids to take care of. I need to make 4 times more money than I'm making at any given time. So, all the feminists and the lefties and the liberals who are like, oh, women need to get paid more. You don't hear from them as much because they are the ones who disproved the pay gap. It was feminists. It was radical feminists who discovered that there was no pay gap. In fact, there was a little bit of a pay gap, and that was that women actually got paid more than men in a lot of different places, like, say, pornography or OnlyFans. Those are two prime and very bad examples at the same time. But that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? That's supposed to be empowering women, right? So they're getting empowered. They're getting paid way more than men are supposed to, but that doesn't come into play. That doesn't affect the pay gap. That doesn't make any sense at all. And they were refusing to acknowledge things like that. There are industries where women definitely get paid a lot more than men. It's the nature of the beast. It is what it is. You don't see too many women laying bricks, right? You don't see too many women painting houses. Because they want jobs that are indoors, that have air conditioning, that come with pizza parties on Friday, where they can chit chat. I mean, I don't know how many of you have worked in an office full of women, but it's fucking awful. It is fucking awful, man. I've been in a couple different situations where I was the only man in the whole fucking office, and you got to listen to the stories about their slutty teenage daughters and their menstrual cycles and all kinds of disgusting shit. But the second you say anything that has anything remotely to do with being a man, you get reported. That's what it's like working with women. So you can imagine what it's like working under women. In my personal experience, the majority of women who have been left in charge of me have done a fantastic job. But that's not all women. That's not all women. And the way I was trained, I respect my superiors regardless of race, color, creed, origin. Doesn't matter. They tell me to do something, I do it. And if they tell me to do it consistently and they're telling me to do smart things consistently, I'm going to consider that person a good manager, a good employee, a good business owner, what have you. But the left, the disruptors, are constantly pushing bullshit on you. Constantly. Immigration, pay gap, white men are running the world. That's one of my favorites. It's white men are inferior. We're stupid. We're clumsy. We have no culture of our own. Yet somehow we've managed to oppress an entire race. Somehow we've managed to oppress all women. Come on, man. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. We control everything, but we're fucking stupid. Doesn't make sense. But that's literally who it is that's arguing against me. Remember the "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets? Remember those? Those are awesome. Even as an atheist, I was like, you know what? Those are pretty fucking awesome because it put the believers of Jesus Christ directly in believing in Jesus Christ. It wasn't, oh, how should I handle this so I can ask for forgiveness from Jesus later? It was, well, how would Jesus handle this situation? And let's face it, you couldn't handle it because most of us can't be like Jesus. But the point was to try. And you wouldn't even try. You gave up the bracelets. Another prime example that I love is the Me Too movement. Now, the cold hard facts of the Me Too movement is the Me Too movement was established by Hillary in her attempt to gain the presidency. It was an attempt at demonizing her opposition since they were all men to begin with. Let's not forget the Me Too movement was very, very anti-Joe Biden. Remember that. Remember that. The Me Too movement was the movement that was like, hey, Joe Biden sniffs little girls' hair and showers with his teenage daughter and is inappropriate with children. Everybody agreed with that until Hillary was no longer in the running for the Democratic nomination for president. The second Joe Biden was, and look it up. Take your fucking time. Look it up. The second Joe Biden was announced as the Democratic presidential nominee, the Me Too movement stopped. That fucking second, it stopped. Look it up. The Me Too movement died when Hillary Clinton wasn't given the nomination for Democratic presidential nominee. Literally that day, you stopped hearing about the Me Too movement. Remember, believe all women? That was all propaganda, right? So they can get you to believe all women. We're definitely going to believe Hillary Clinton, right? And once again, I want to thank Hillary Clinton because she's the reason that Donald Trump got in the White House in the first place. You have to understand this. Nobody voted for her. Nobody wanted to vote for her. The only people who voted for her were like, oh, well, Donald Trump's a white man, so he's bad. It's literally the people that were falling for her bullshit. The people who were like, Joe Biden's creepy, but he's my president. That's not opposition. That's just ignorance. That wasn't an attempt at being Nick Freitas, by the way. But the left is constantly pushing this bullshit rhetoric, and now it's, let Muslims invade your country. People who broke the law should be allowed to continue to break the law. We've seen what happened with BLM. It was a sham the whole time. I knew it was a sham the whole time. Most of us knew it was a sham the whole time. Idiots fell for it. Idiots are still falling for it. I had to delete Bumble. Yes, I'm that lonely. I just scratched myself there. Whoops. I had to delete Bumble because, first of all, I don't get any matches. But more importantly, when you're setting up your profile, they'll give you options of causes that you're passionate about. Like, well, what causes are you passionate about? And all the options are just lefty talking points. It's just lefty bullshit. It's stop Asian hate, BLM, LGBTQ plus A rights, reproductive rights, anti-fascist, It's all just shit you were told to post. And you post it. I mean, that's an automatic swipe left now. That's an automatic swipe left for most of us. If one of your causes is BLM, swipe left. If one of your causes is climate crisis, swipe left. Same with What Would Jesus Do? Same with hashtag Me Too. Now, I understand the What Would Jesus Do didn't come from the left, but I feel like it did, actually. Because it was a genius marketing. You know what? Lefties aren't genius marketers. Who are we kidding? But they're just fads. I'm 48 years old, dude. I've seen fads on fads on fads on fans. I've watched these dipshits for decades. I remember chatting with my dad one time. We're watching a fucking History Channel, some bullshit about the hippies in the 60s and shit. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I wish I could have been a part. I was like 15, back when I thought laying around in mud and humping disease-infested women because they had flat stomachs was a good idea. But I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. That's not, like, man, I wish I existed when that was going on. And my dad's like, you realize, like, the majority of people weren't hippies. The large majority of college students didn't believe that shit. It's just, that's what the media gave us. Like, ooh, look at all these hippies. Ooh, look at... And if you notice, the footage that they continue to show us of these hippies and this movement it's the same footage over and over. It's Woodstock and it's Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. It's, there's not much else. Because it was, literally less than 1 in 20 college students were a hippie. It was even less than that. Those were what we now have today as a people who participate in capitalism while claiming they don't participate in capitalism. Like, I'm anti-capitalist, but somebody else makes my food, and then somebody else delivers it, and then somebody else cleans up after me. But screw capitalism. It's just sheer ignorance, and you're being manipulated, obviously, but you want to be manipulated. That's the scary part. You want to be told what to think. People want to be subjugated. I don't understand that at all. It was brought to my attention the other day that, when Moses and his posse were wandering the desert for 40 years in the Bible, after like 2 weeks, all the newly freed slaves, they're like, we want to go back to Egypt. We want to go back to being slaves. Now we're here, we're responsible for ourselves. We're out in the middle of the desert. If nothing happens, it's because we didn't do it. We don't like that. We want to go back to being slaves, where we can get meat and melons and cucumbers. That's most of you. Most of you surrender your safety. Most of you surrender your rights for convenience. Millennials spend record numbers in dollars annually. Listen to me, millennials, the people complaining that my generation and the generation before mine screwed up the economy, left them nothing, blah, blah, blah. They can't afford a mortgage, blah, blah, blah. They're setting record numbers on the amount they pay to have food delivered for convenience, to have somebody else drive. Last year it was $150 billion that millennials spent on convenience. It's you. And you're just like those hippies back in the 60s who didn't want to be responsible for themselves. Here's a fucking newsflash for you, kiddies. America is built on personal responsibility. That is a foundation of this nation, this great fucking nation. All men are created equal, which means all men must stand on their own. Now, you can pay other people to represent you, but the fact of the matter is, you represent yourself outside of court at all times. And it's just like when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and then people just continued to share lies, just outright fucking lies. Like all these people who are anti-Charlie Kirk never even looked them up. My heroes, the people who I look up to, were all people that my lefty friends were like, watch out for this guy, he's the enemy. Right? They said that about Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro's a racist. And then I see him wearing a yarmulke, and I'm like, okay, he probably is a racist. But he has some good points. Charlie Kirk, Dr. Jordan Peterson, these men want you to be better people. They want you to improve yourself. They want you to improve your lives. They want you to improve the lives of your loved ones. That's what makes them the enemy. Because they want more for you than you want for you. That's what makes them the enemy. And it's just pathetic. Right? People are trying to claim that Charlie Kirk is a racist, so they play one tiny little 4-second part of what he said. For those of you who are unfamiliar, he was talking about DEI hires and how airlines were going to decrease requirements for minority pilots so they could fill some sort of bullshit DEI requirement. So if you're black, you can be a pilot that's not as good as the white pilots. That's literally what they're saying. If you're black, we're going to make it easier for you to be a pilot. We're going to make it, well, basically, we're going to give you the job. That's what they're saying, regardless of whether or not you're putting people at risk. I mean, there's literally, you're dealing with hundreds of lives every day. The standards should be raised, not decreased. It should never be decreased. Charlie Kirk was making that point. If black people are going to get hired to be pilots, and the requirements for those black people are lower than the requirements for everybody else, which means that they didn't actually qualify to be a pilot, or more than likely did not qualify to be a pilot. I don't want to take anything away from qualified pilots, regardless of race, color, creed, or origin. A good pilot's a good pilot. Doesn't matter their race. But now we're put in a situation to think, is that guy qualified? If we do have a black pilot, did he score high enough to be a pilot? Or did he have to get a waiver? Did he have to get permission from the principal to be a pilot? Hear that? There's a pilot driving by right now. Driving. He's driving the old airplane. But it's all, oh, you don't hear about judgment, for up until a couple of years ago, women were constantly like, oh, we're being judged. Oh, men judge us, the way men talk about us, the way men treat us. And then we find out 85% of that judgment is coming from other women. 85% of that judgment is coming from other women. So if we stop judging you entirely, you wouldn't even notice. You wouldn't even notice. That 85% would become 100%, and 100% would be coming from other women. Ironically, it's the exact same statistics with black-on-black murder. Everyone wants to bitch and moan about white people killing black people, but at the absolute most, that can only be 15% of the black people being killed each year. 85% of young black males are killed by other young black males. 85%. But you want to complain about the 15%. You're born in the United States, which makes you top 2% globally. You are the homeless guy begging for spare change out in front of the liquor store is in the top 2% globally. But you want to bitch and moan about the 1% of the 2%. You want to bitch and moan about people more successful than you. Oh, did you hear what Elon Musk did today? Oh, I don't know, but it's probably more prolific than what you're going to do with your whole fucking life. Right? Loser's gonna lose. If you're complaining about people that are more successful than you, congratulations, you're a fucking loser. It's just that simple. If you had 40, 50, $100 million in the bank, you'd be like, that Elon guy, he's on to something. But you don't. You can't even save money. You can't even clean the lint screen in your dryer. I'm not special. I'm not amazing. I just refuse to lose. That's it. I don't accept failure. That's it. I don't accept failure. I do not give up. I do not surrender. There's like, we were talking with, I think it was Young Quicks the other day on the, Real Quick Though podcast. Check it out, Black Truffle TV on YouTube. And Young Quicks was on there, MC Young Quicks, and he was talking about how he was trying to get one of his songs promoted through a particular radio station, and they were giving him a hard time. So he just continued to release that song around the record, or around the radio station. Like he was sharing it, having people repost it, and it got to the point where the or the radio station, I don't know why I keep saying record company, radio station hit him up and was like, "Yo, can we play one of your tracks?" That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. You guys would be like, "Hey, I have this song." The radio station would say, "No, thank you," and then you would quit. I mean, do you know how many people, like, this is one thing that really bothers me on a personal level, is how many people are like, "Yo, let's get you in the studio, drop some rhymes, we're gonna make a track, we're gonna make an album, whatever, cool, awesome." I used to MC it, I used to be fairly good at it. I wasn't amazing, but I was better than average. I'll put it that way. You know, lyrically, I was on point because so much of what I said had double and triple meanings. You know, I really tried to take a Shakespearean attempt at my writing. So these guys, you know, we get in there, and then they want to start changing things. They want to change my lyrics. And it's like, I'm the MC. This is my art. Oh, well, I'm the producer. Oh. You're the producer? What have you produced? Right? We're in your garage making a song. I'm nobody. You're nobody. But you want to play producer? That doesn't make too much sense. Right? And I've recorded a couple songs, and then guess what happens? After we record those songs, they're mastered and mixed down. Then what happens? Nothing. Fucking nothing. These guys don't want to promote. These same guys are like, "Oh, let's cut an album." They don't want to promote. They don't want to perform. They don't want to get out there and shake hands and do the networking. They don't want to do any of that. They want to sit in their garage or sit in their living room, press buttons, and then I go out and I promote their songs. I mean, there are songs, whatever, but like their intention was, "Oh, you do all that work." And to a certain extent, I can understand that. That's kind of how it happens in hip hop, but for me, it's a group effort. Like, even if you're not on stage, I still expect you to be at the show as a producer. If I'm rapping over beats you produced, I expect you to be there, at least the first time. Unless you're like so famous and popular, you can't be there. But that's why I quit comedy, because that's how comedy is in Ventura County. It's just a bunch of losers who don't get the attention that they think they need. They don't get the attention that they crave. So some dipshit will hand them a stage and a microphone, so they take that. Like those assholes who are like, "Oh, this is my therapy. Comedy's my therapy." Well, your therapy is our torture. All right? Your therapy is supposed to be with your therapist. Your therapy is supposed to be a private matter. Getting on stage and talking about how you're not dealing with the issues that are controlling your life, that's not therapy. Talking about the childhood trauma that you're not going to try to resolve, that's not therapy. You're just wasting my time. You're wasting the audience's time. Just a few years ago, I was complaining about, why is everybody aiming for mediocrity? Why is the goal to be average? And we don't even get that anymore. You guys don't even go to average anymore. I'm so used to seeing myself with my glasses now. When my glasses are off, I'm like, who's that guy? I look handsome when I'm blurry. Well, so do you. So move your leg over a little bit. Yes, now, where was I? Oh, yes, complaining about the common folk, of which I am one of. I'm not special, I'm not different. Well, I am very different, but I'm not special. I don't get, white privilege doesn't exist. I live in Oxnard, California, which up until the ICE raids was basically like living in Tijuana. In fact, I even had a joke about it. Living in Oxnard, I just pretend I live in Tijuana, right? When I leave the house, like, oh, there's a bunch of dudes drinking malt liquor at the bus stop at 9 a.m. Only in Tijuana, man. Like, oh, there's people walking through traffic at an intersection trying to raise money for a funeral. Only in Tijuana, man. Oh, look, a 26-year-old grandmother. Only in Tijuana, man. But it's not Tijuana, it's America. And since the ICE raids, all of that shit has stopped. Well, not the 26-year-old grandmothers, but Oxnard's quiet. It's cleaner. It's a totally different town now. If you're willing to break the law to come into this country, you're willing to break the law to stay. It's just that simple. If you're willing to break the law to come into a country, you're going to be willing to continue to break those laws. You had to break the laws of our country just to get in here, so you're a criminal by definition. Very simple. I know there's this attempt by the left to say people who participate in crime aren't criminals. It's like saying people who give live births aren't mammals. All right, I think that's enough for now. Hopefully we get a show out of this. Ignorance abounds, ignorance abounds, ignorance abounds. I'm 48. I promised myself that in my 20s, when I turned 30, I'd take better care of myself. Been doing it for 18 years. Taking better care of myself means watching what I eat, being disciplined in my life, the stuff that I struggle with. You know, I'm a very undisciplined person, and I eat a lot of fucking candy sometimes. But I'm not eating candy all the time, and I'm not undisciplined all the time. But the ignorance just abounds, because a good portion of my self-improvement is fellowship and networking and talking to other people who also want to improve, talking to people who have improved. And I spend a lot of my time talking to people who, you know, they're like, I'm being held back. I'm a victim. So I say, okay, well, how are you being victimized? Let's go ahead and address that. But they're not being victimized. They just want to be victims. People think that if they can get you to believe they're a victim, then they can do and say whatever they want. That they can unapologetically just be pieces of shit. I used to do it. I did it for years. Before I turned 30, before I decided to become an adult, before I joined the military, I was a victim. And it wasn't until I actually walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous that I realized I was full of shit. Because when I walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, it was because my mom and my life and my situation, and if you had to deal with what I dealt with, you'd drink too. And I sit in a room with 30 other people who said the exact same shit. I drank because my life was hard and you didn't understand, and I just couldn't deal with it. Room full of people saying the exact same shit is what got them to be alcoholics. So that I'm not a victim. We're not victims. All of that's personal choice. If your choices end up putting you in a position to comfortably say you're a victim, fuck you. You're not a victim. So much of this is personal choice. I mentioned that the pay gap has all but disappeared because radical feminists proved that it didn't exist. It comes down to basic things like men are willing to work overtime. Men will come in early. Men will stay late. Women want to come in late on Mondays, leave early on Fridays. They want air-conditioned office jobs with pizza parties. None of this is new or surprising. They're not fighting to get more female house painters. They're not fighting to get more female bricklayers. It's not about equality at all. They've decided that they're victims because of their personal choices. Just that simple. You want to give me a hard time about women wanting to stay home and raise their kids? Go ahead and try. I'm not against that at all. I'm not against that at all. But this whole, I have to have it all bullshit. I have to have a career, which let's say it's not a career. You become teachers. You cut hair. You work in HR. What percentage of women are pilots? That's just one example. That's just one example. There's a big difference between men and women. A glaring example would be the difference between the NBA and the WNBA. So they're not victims. Women do get victimized. I'm not saying that. A lot of you are really fucking dumb, so you look for any excuse to create drama where there is none. But you're not a fucking victim. You're in America. You're in the top 2% globally. 98% of the world is doing worse than you. The large majority of the fucking planet isn't doing as good as you're doing, and you're still finding shit to bitch and moan about. First world problems. All of your problems are first world problems. Uptown problems. They're not problems at all. They're not fucking problems at all. Well, I want a career, and I want to be a mother, but I also want to be a singer, but I also want to cut hair, but I also want to be a comedian. Like, that's just being manic. That's a lack of concentration. Men and women are different. Trying to say that somehow we need to be exactly the same is just madness. But that's just one example of the ignorance that is being spewed daily. I can't talk about 85% of the black people killed in America because they're killed by other black people. I'm a white supremacist if I remind you that 85% of young black males who lose their lives as a result of getting killed by other young black males. Apparently, I'm racist if I talk about more than the 15% of black men being killed in America. That makes me racist. If I contradict the narrative that black people are victims, that makes me racist. Think about that for a second. Think about that for a long fucking second. Because white people could stop killing black people altogether. Every other race could stop killing black people altogether, and it's still a fucking epidemic. We've only solved 15% of the problem. There's still a large majority of the problem that needs to be addressed. But I'm a racist because I actually give a shit about black lives. Because I don't support abortion. Because I don't support black men killing each other. Whatever happened to just fucking fist fighting, man? Let's face it, man. They're cowards. Not black people in general, but the people who are killing other people are cowards. And what percentage of the black population is actually doing the killing? Probably pretty small. Probably a very specific type of black person. A gangster, if you will. Now, I get that life is tough. I grew up in Section 8. I grew up in the projects. I grew up in the hood. It's real easy to feel like you're a victim because life fucking sucks. But this is America. Don't have kids before you're ready. That's a pretty fucking simple one. Don't have kids until you're ready. And an abortion will literally just rip your soul to shreds. It will literally rip your soul to shreds. It will turn you into less than human. You'll have to deal with that for the rest of your life. Stop aborting black babies. Stop killing black people. That's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily have solutions, but I'm saying, hey, this needs to stop. The people that disagree with me, why? Why would you disagree with that? Black people are 13% of the population of the United States. Y'all should be way more than that. Black women have 480,000 abortions every fucking year. Thousands of young black lives are lost every fucking year. But I'm racist because I'm saying that's not okay. Make it make sense.
the incredible, edible, damn near hetero, David Thoreau pros. Let me pump your gas at Texaco, so let it go, set it go, analog or digital. Do exactly as I did, cause all my hits are critical. Literal, literal, county, state, and federal. You need a sushi master just to find yourself a better role. What time is dinner on? My life I did a rod. I run these bitches till they're pan with nothing but a collar on. I'm coming from the street, cause that's where I sleep. I'm woofing on you sheep, best to call Bo Peep. I'm not a Radiohead, but best believe that I'm a creep. And hey ladies in your 80s, best believe I go deep. Honorary Mexican, I fist fight Republicans on the left side. So yo, blaze another dub again. Bathhouse getting rubbed again. On the streets I'm stubborn again. Your crew of baby seals is looking to get close again. I'm a living legend, hedging bets on staying both of those. Hey Kurt Cobain, I bring the pain, so prepare yourself an overdose. I'm not bringing sexy back, it never left my AOR. And I'm here, let's make things clear, to take things way too motherfucking far. I'm stable when I'm able to explode. Truth be told, razor fold, high on hash, feeling brash and getting way too old. Jurassic but not plastic, I was whittled from the bones of gods I came to play. So orale, let's see some motherfucking odds. I'm just like Mike Tyson, in that I will bite you. No, my kids are the greatest, and I'll motherfucking fight you. You fucked the violate the crave in the face, and came in his ass and got it all on tape. I know I don't look right when I'm not in my cape. You mellow out, man, I'm just here to vape. It's the primitive, limited,